Testing, testing. All right, so we're closing out the third quarter of 2022 in the global stock markets. Everything in Europe is already closed down, as you can see from the chart. The Americas are continuing to trade and will do so until 4:30, 4 o'clock rather, this afternoon. Um, Consumer spending data is up 0.4%, but that's as a result of inflation. Prices got higher, so inflation is up. People spent more. That's actually a negative. And we've also got a lot of turmoil in the world. You all are familiar with it and how it's affecting the markets. So, I had a good day in Europe, comparatively speaking. Not having such a bad day in the West, in the Americas, but we'll see how it closes out. All right, we're going to be taking a look at commodities markets here in just a second. Just looking at how the markets are closing out here in the third quarter of 2022. Just sitting here watching the global markets, both stock and commodities markets, uh, close out. Marion, I see what you're saying. The screen was clear until the audio came on. Very weird. Okay, yes, that is weird. Let's see if it does it again. Might be a bandwidth issue. Did you notice it happening again now that I'm speaking, Marion? Just drop a comment. Okay, got a full signal here. Not certain what is happening. I'm checking it out also on another screen. Okay, got a full signal. So, not sure why that's happening. Hopefully, it will stop. Okay, we're going to switch and look at the commodities markets for a minute, see how they're doing to close out the third quarter of 2022. We'll switch in a minute here to the commodities. Okay, Marion. So you're saying the referendums went okay. That's good news. Um, it looks like Putin should have probably tried that before an actual, invasion. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, because YouTube certainly does not carry uh, RT, and that baffles me because it's like, why can't we get to hear what the other side has to say? I mean, don't cut off. They don't have to be right, but can we at least listen to them? So it's all. It always makes me suspicious when one side of the dialogue is cut off. I don't have to agree with what they're saying, but why not be able to hear it? It's like if you cut it off, is, is your argument strong if you have to censor an opposing view? All right, here are the commodities. We're going to let this play out for a while. Gold, you'll notice gold is up. And the reason for that primarily is due to all of the uncertainty. Now, gold typically will moderate in price based on interest rates. The other thing you have to remember, though, is the dollar is strong. So gold is relatively inexpensive compared to where it was a couple of years ago. However, since the dollar is the strongest currency out there, gold is less. Uh, I'm sorry, gold is more expensive in other currencies. I hope you follow that. Okay, silver, copper, those metals are definitely used in industrial applications more so than gold. Of course, then we also have all important natural gas. Midway the list, it is up as we go into winter. I don't know about you guys, but the temperatures are dropping here. It's going to be, I heard on the radio this morning that the temperatures are going to be below normal for the weekend. So, okay. Oil is down. We're going to see how these all end up with regard to the end of the quarter. So we got 3 quarters in, and the stock markets at least are pretty down. But we've got 2023 coming up. We'll see what happens. It would have to be an incredible fourth quarter for us to erase these losses. I want you to keep in mind also that just erasing the losses is not good enough. You want to get a gain. So let's say you have $10 in the form of two $5 bills. You lose one of those $5 bills. So, what percentage do you need to gain in order to get back to $10? Some might say 50%, but that would only bring you to $7.50. You need 100% gain to get back to $10. So, consider that when looking at your portfolios. And Marion, just let me know. Just let me know if you can hear me. I'm talking away. I have not confirmed whether or not I'm being heard. I just think it's important to do this just so people will have somewhere to come and take a quick look at what's going on. All right. Now you're not supposed to obsess over the markets. You're not unless you're a trader. They have to pay a lot more attention to what goes on minute by minute. But with regard to long-term investors, uh, actually, it's probably not too good for your psychology to sit there and just refresh, refresh, refresh. But it is helpful to be able to think about what's going on in the world and then uh, see a full kind of view, an air traffic controller's viewpoint of how these markets are changing, you know, how they're changing. So another thing about gold is a lot of people that own gold, they get happy when it goes up. You also see that the dollar is up. Okay. A lot of people get happy when gold goes up, but and some people say, "Oh, $5,000 gold. We'll have $5,000 gold." Actually, if we get $5,000 gold, that is a problem because that would mean that the dollar is probably non-existent at that point. It could mean that there are many more, much more chaos in the world, and people are taking a flight to safety in gold. So, an exorbitantly high gold price is really. Do you really want it? Do you really want? Do you really want $5,000 gold? Gold is a hedge. It is not meant to act like Amazon stock and go through the roof. It's not meant to do that. It's just meant to preserve your buying power. It's been used for thousands of years to do that. It's done a great job. A lot of people might say, well, short term, yeah, short term, gold may have some fluctuations, but long term, it has proven the test of time. So we'll just let this play out. If anybody has any questions, observations, drop them in the chat. I will drop in periodically. Hopefully, this computer will cooperate. It did okay earlier. Ran out of batteries and I wasn't paying close attention. But hopefully, that won't happen this time. So, a quick snapshot of what's going on in the commodities markets. We will switch back and forth from commodities to the global stock markets. Keep in mind that Europe is closed for the weekend. They've gone home. They're enjoying their Friday. But money's still working over here in the Americas. Okay. I've dropped in and out. Any questions? Put them in the chat. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know if this is helpful, if this is interesting. Yeah, Marion, Simon Hunt, he's right on point there. They're looking at other currencies, creating other currencies backed by hard assets. And yes, I think anybody who ignores the fact that the dollar is in a precarious position, they're not really one with reality. We've weaponized the dollar, and that will definitely act as a detriment to holding on to it. If you don't think it's secure, if you think the United States government can come in at any point and sanction your dollar transactions, of course. Why would you want to? Why would you want to be so heavily vested in that? Absolutely. Isn't it disconcerting when you have to take a step back and say, hey, are we the bad guys here? Because if you look at it objectively, the United States certainly would have a problem with um, any other country doing a lot of the things that we are doing. You can go back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we saw the United States was not willing to put up with the Soviet Union 90 miles away from our borders. We weren't willing to put up with that, and we took action. Now, I'm not saying that China is righteous either. These are governments we're talking about, led by some pretty ambitious people. I'll just use that term. Not saying that Russia is righteous. Okay. You also have to wonder, you always think, yeah, if I was in there, I'd do this, I'd do that. Would I? I'd like to believe I would. But is human nature such that anybody in these positions of power would begin at some point to have the same hubris? Maybe that's an argument for term limits, which they are entertaining in Baltimore City right now, by the way. They're looking at giving the city council 2 terms and the mayor as well, I believe. That was what I understood as well. Yep. That we took we had equipment in Turkey. Yeah. So looks like we made the first move there. Aram Ferris, welcome. How do you buy gold? Does it have to be through a broker? No, it doesn't actually. Aram, I'm not sure where you're from here, but in most of the states in America, let's have a conversation about this. How do you buy gold? There are several ways. You can invest in gold by, and we've done videos on this on the channel around. Hit subscribe for me and look back through, but I'm going to explain it to you now. We have talked about buying paper gold. Okay, now what paper gold is basically investing in gold through some sort of equity instrument, like a stock. Okay, now one of the ways you can do that is by buying mining companies, buying stocks in mining companies. And look, I want to encourage you to do your own due diligence. We're coming out with a course in the beginning of the year that's going to teach people how to do their own fundamental analysis. But you can buy paper gold in the form of ETFs. You can buy paper gold in the form of uh, mining stocks. But I think what you're talking about is physical gold. And if you're in America, then most all of the states have places where you can go and physically buy gold. You can go to a gold dealer. Just look it up on Google. It should be several in your local neighborhood. Now, I would encourage you to compare premiums. Now, what is the premium? The premium is the difference between the spot price. That's just the spot price is whatever the markets say gold is going for at a given time, and what the dealer is charging. So that premium is what the dealer is charging because they're going to want to make some money off of the transaction. So you got to do some homework to figure out who's offering the best premiums. You can actually purchase coins. That's one way you can purchase gold. But you got to make sure you keep it in a safe deposit box, or you know, um, there are actually companies that will hold your gold for you so that you can, because if you go out there and amass a good amount of it, you're not going to want to keep that at your home, quite possibly. So look into securing it also. But that's the ways you can buy gold. Just get with a dealer in your area. Now, study your spot prices. You can go out and look at, you can just type in gold price. So look, you can see here that gold right now is trading for roughly $1,672.35 an ounce. So if you encounter somebody who's got a price for 1 ounce of gold that's way above that, then you might say, that premium is way too high. You might want to continue to look around. Gold comes in the American Eagle gold coin. It comes in a 1 ounce size, comes in a 1/4 ounce size, 1/10 ounce, and 1/2 ounce size. So you don't have all of the money to get an ounce, you can get a portion of an ounce. Now the premiums on those might be a little high. You gotta check that. And you can go online. There are plenty of reputable dealers online. You can go take a look at some of those that have been out there for a while. They can mail you gold, silver, coins, or bullion. That's another way. Yeah, Marion, the deep state, it's those bureaucrats who are not, we don't know who they are. We don't know their names. We can't vote them in or out. They stay in for 30 years where a president might get 8, So yeah, that bureaucracy is that is the swamp, for lack of a better term. Look, I worked in DC. I can tell you, we were calling it a swamp long before 2016. We also called it Hollywood for ugly people. Yeah, Marion, what we need are some folks. Oh, Aram, no problem. Well, if you're in New York City, you won't have a problem at all. You'll find, oh man, you'll probably find more than you can handle. You're good. So yeah, just do your research and around, and yeah. You can also purchase coins from other countries as well. The Canadian maple leaf coins have the highest content of gold and silver in the gold and silver coins. So there's that. You can purchase coins from the UK, South Africa. Yeah, Marion, in many ways in many ways we're fortunate. If we are history buffs, which I am, in many ways we're fortunate to be experiencing this because I mean, we are seeing a serious evolution of society right now. Yeah, Canada, they've got a high content, they've got the highest content of gold and silver in their coins. Really good stuff. The interesting thing about it is they sell gold coins, but they, as their central bank, doesn't own any. It owns a small. I mean, there are human beings that own more gold than the Central Bank of Canada. For some strange reason, they sold their gold. We did a video on the channel a while back talking about how um, all of the other countries in July and August, most of them anyway, had purchased more gold. They're hoarding it. But Canada decided otherwise, which I don't think was too bright. I think Canada. We should send Justin Trudeau the link to the Soldiers of Finance channel. Have him subscribe to it. That way, maybe we can help him out a little bit. I think he watches, but he hasn't subscribed. Justin, come on, man. In a minute, we'll switch back, take a look at see what the stock market is doing. But commodities, they're not cheap. Look at what's going on. Copper's down a little teeny bit. Remember, copper is used in every electronic device. Silver too. Silver too. All of these new electric vehicles, they use a great degree of copper and silver to make them work. They do use some palladium and platinum. Some. I'm not sure if it's as much as a catalytic converter. Yeah, I thought old Justin was going to get the boot last time, but I think I think he probably will get it next time around. He's been pretty authoritarian up there. That whole thing when he decided he was going to seize bank accounts or shut down bank accounts of people who supported the truckers' protests, that was like very North Korean of him. You know, they say they say that there's this rumor, and Marion, I'm sure you've heard of it, uh, that he is actually his father is Fidel Castro. And I don't know if that's true or not, but sometimes I look at him and I say, yeah, he kind of resembles a young Castro. Back when Castro, before he had the beard and everything, you could see the structure of his face. And oh, Justin, I don't know. Yeah, it's so tough to get. I just look at it like this. I read a article this morning talking about the pipeline bombing. We did a video on that a couple of days ago. The pipeline bombing over in the Baltic Sea, the Nord Stream pipeline, and the article said if John Brennan, former CIA head Brennan, John Brennan says Russia did it, Russia probably didn't do it exactly. So the media and their cohorts in the deep state, they can't be trusted. They've got a narrative and they're sticking to it, even though every day it looks more and more ridiculous. So that's why we're trying to grow this channel so we can bring. Yeah, he is. He really is that guy. It's like, how did he get the CIA anyway? We're trying to grow the channel so that we can provide an alternative to some of the financial news that's out there. And the other thing that I want to do, and we try to do this today, as a matter of fact. That reminds me, I gotta send this out. We got a video dropping today about a young lady who went out there and she created a little business for herself. And last year, that business made $735,000. And look, she's not some big corporation. I need to. I'll look them up. I'll look them up. I appreciate that. This woman's not some big corporation. So we're in an environment now where we have to uh, we really have to get serious about multiple streams of income because the economy is in such a precarious position, and we do not want to be, left without a chair to sit in when music slows down or stops. So this young lady, I like doing this profile on her because she actually, give you a little spoiler alert, she actually had to really go into um, a mode where she had to just make something happen because of something that happened in her family. And boy, did she make something happen. This is an awesome, very inspirational story. Yeah, I know how that is. Yeah, I know people have one of my clients is actually a major healthcare provider, and when folk run into the different Social Security disability classifications, and of course the Medicaid, there are restrictions. That's true. I come from a family. Oh yeah, yeah. What is her name? Her name is. One second. Oh yeah, here she is. Uh, Mona, Mona, Magia. MEJIA. Yeah, I think if you look at it, the government does a lot of things to just really, I don't know, it's like they want to make people less capable of being self-sufficient. The government likes people to rely on them, and I think that's a control mechanism because then at some point, like with the electric car, look at what's happening in California. They're saying, yeah, switch to electric cars. We demand it. By 2034, you won't be able to buy an internal combustion engine car in California, which would be a hell of a stimulus package for neighboring states who still sell them. But then they turn around and said, oh, well, we're having a little power issue here, so we're asking that you not charge up your electric car that we just demanded that you buy. So right now, I can jump in my car as long as it's on full tank, drive from here to Connecticut, and be on half a tank. That's about 250 miles. Um, and not have to stop, mind you. Okay. And if I wanted to drive from the East Coast to California, and yes, they I don't know if you remember that old movie, Superman, the movie, the original with Christopher Reeve. Part of the plot was Lex Luthor was gonna get rid of California. He had bought up all the land in like Nevada, and he was gonna make it beachfront property once he got rid of California. But yeah, California, you can I drive from here to California, and I know that I can stop at several places along the way and fuel up. That's not so with that electric charging infrastructure. And I'm not saying I hate those vehicles or anything like that, but it's not something that most people can even consider. It's much more expensive in several ways. Yeah, people are moving out of California in droves for obvious reasons. It's just too expensive to live there for most people. It's just way too expensive. Batteries are just like the windmills. Where do they go when they die? So you got that, and they talk about, oh well, this is such a good solution carbon footprint wise, but is it? Is it? If you look at it in its totality, don't just look at it in terms of, oh, you're driving down the street and there's no exhaust pipe. Okay, fine, but what did it take to build it? What will it take to dispose of it? You're absolutely right. Yeah, I was a firefighter, and they were just it was the Prius. The Prius was huge. That was the EV back when I was a firefighter, and we took training on it. And you're right, even then they were like they just took a tremendous amount of work to extinguish. Yeah, so it is. And here's the other thing. I mentioned this on the channel, one of the videos this week, basically saying that okay, so you're mandating the end of internal combustion engine cars. More and more states are going to start to do this. Maryland is looking at it. But if the EV is so great, why are you mandating that it's the only game in town? Now, if we look at another market, phones, okay, If I have a choice of going out and buy the Princess model from the 1970s, the plug in to the wall, or a smartphone, naturally I'm going to pick the smartphone because it has more features, it's more convenient, it's better. This is not the case with how they're trying to, hype this EV market up. If it is better, and I'm sure at some point it will advance, just like cell phones did. Okay, cell phones, people gradually got into them, and then it became okay. This is the thing we do now. But that was because it was a quality issue. Quality, you know, was better. Convenience was better. Yeah, there's always some, incentive, like with the internal combustion engine. In fact, you know, um, the electric car was out there way back when, but I think some agreement took place between, John D. Rockefeller at the time was very influential, and he probably said, this electric car thing ain't gonna work for me. Let me get people turned on to the oil. So he probably, you know, worked behind the scenes to kind of quash that whole electric car thing. Yeah, yeah, because electricity was new at the time, also. So, and then once that infrastructure went up, the gas station infrastructure went up, it became like okay. And a lot of people started making money off of oil, and the electric car was forgotten about until people started saying that human beings were capable of destroying the world, which is not true. You look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki; they actually people live in those uh, areas. Now I know the megatonnage of those bombs were not nearly as what we have today, but the Earth has been through a heck of a lot more than humanity has put it through. The Earth has been through a lot. It's a planet, and we're incapable of destroying it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember when I was very young, my aunt used to drive to the gas station and say $5 lead free, and I think that $5 got her half a tank at the time. But you used to have to say it $5 of lead free because it was such a new thing at that point. Yep, back when they had full service and the guy used to pump the gas and do the window thing, and that's the thing that would pass. New Jersey, I think they still had it for a while, um, full service because they were in some like a union or something. Oh, okay, okay. See, when I started driving, gasoline was dollar a gallon, $1 per gallon. I started driving in 1993. Yeah, Oregon. I heard about them a few years ago. They were switching and making it so that you could have the option, and a lot of people were flipping out, like and people were trying to tell them, "No, don't worry, it's a pretty simple operation here." Okay. Ha 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 ha. All right, let's take a minute here and switch over. Let's switch back to the stock markets because we'll be closing up in a couple of hours. So let's go up and switch. Let's take a look at the United States exclusively since the other markets have closed down. Oh, okay. What they're doing is they're giving us the major stocks. Okay, that's fine. We'll work with that. What we might want to do, I'll see if this will allow me to create my own index. Yeah, there is a lot of red on there. We're talking big companies too. We'll see if we can create a Soldiers of Finance index and watch our index. We'll throw that stream up. I'm also going to try to figure out how to leave this stream up permanently. I don't know if there are any restrictions on the application that I'm using, but again, I want people to be able to just come here and not have to sort through looking at, a variety of things, make it more convenient. Might have to also put some music to it so people will know that something's happening when they come in. Some nice soothing music, maybe, while we're not actually on here. All right, Apple. Yeah, they're taking it on the chin as have a lot of the tech companies. Um, the defense companies, they are, I believe they are some of them are down for the year, but they're still down less. They're doing well. And they're doing well because of all this money that NATO is spending, uh, the United States especially. So there's a lot of defense money being spent that's flowing into the defense contractors, but a lot of these other companies, like as we can see, 3M Consumer Products, 3M does a lot. I mean, you probably have several items produced by them in your home and you don't even know it. American Express, okay, folk are they're going to want to borrow less because of what's going on, the interest rates rising. And so you can see American Express, Boeing is just a shadow of itself. They've got the new Starliner, which is not really working out well. They are coming off of the 737 MAX issues. They need some new leadership. That's another organization that, if you want to, just send our link, Soldiers of Finance, over to them. Tell them to subscribe. Can't hurt them, right? Goldman Sachs is down. Home Depot's up. Interesting. Interesting. We might be seeing, people say, "Hey, I've got to invest in my house if I really wanted to sell now because the housing market is, you could put anything on the market a few months ago. It was a seller's market, but now it's turned into a buyer's market. So sellers gonna have to work a little harder." McDonald's is down. I was at McDonald's the other day. I put it on the community page how the Big Mac is, they shouldn't be calling it a Big Mac anymore. It is definitely smaller. I don't care what they say. It is smaller. And I got a sweet tea, and that was supposed to be a large. I don't know what it was. It was like a medium. So that's shrinkflation. They are cutting back their portions, and I showed it on the community page. It's you know, it is what it is. Good old Coca-Cola there and there. Dow Chemicals. Um, Most of their customers are industrials, but they're up for today at least. So we'll just continue to watch these major players, big, uh, big companies, market capitalizations, pretty big there. Apple, one of the biggest. Not seeing Amazon, probably further down the list, but Amazon, gargantuan company in terms of market capitalization. They've been closing some warehouses up, preparing for a slowdown. I thought about Warren Buffett's partner, Charlie Munger. He's a big Costco investor, holds a lot of shares in Costco. Might be just the thing right now because people are going to be looking for bargains. We are definitely, my wife and I, we are wholesale club fans because we like to try to get a bargain wherever we can. One of the things we're doing here lately is we're coordinating, her and I are coordinating more closely on what we have for dinner. Because for the longest time, it's just me and her. What we would do is, what are you eating? I don't know. She go over here, I go over there. So what we started doing is collaborating a lot closer so we can fix a meal, have it for a couple of days. Because we want to be in a position to continue to buy assets. And so we got to mitigate food inflation somehow, right? So that's what we've been doing. It's been working out. Been having some great meals. That's the thing, man. You cook at home and you can just make it just the way you want it. All of these cooking channels out there. I follow one called Caribbean Pot. That guy's a Jamaican chef, cook, or whatever you want to call it, and good stuff. I actually fixed his butternut squash soup. It's like the upteenth time I've done it, but I did it the other day and was able to use the butternut squash that we grew on our property here recently. So that was good. And if you can, you are so inclined, you definitely want to try to grow your own food to the extent that you can. Everybody's not able to do it, but if you can, that's just another way to control cost around food expenditures. It's got to be creative these days. Definitely. All right, so if we look over on the right-hand side of the screen, we see that all the major indices are down as of 1:56 Eastern on Friday. Dow Jones is down almost a percentage point. So, um, yeah. My mother was big on self-sufficiency. She always drilled into us. You have to stock up. Have to stock up. And I do. Yep. Yeah. As you joined us earlier, Marion, and you saw how these markets were up. And now, well, there it is. There it is. Trying to search for the biggest loser here today. Looks like it might be Boeing, at least on the list, the portion. Oh no, it's actually Nike, way down on the bottom. Nike's down almost 12%. I haven't owned a pair of Nikes since I was in high school. I got to check him out because, yeah, I'm always interested in how, getting a perspective that is broader than just the one that, we might get from our spot here in America. Because I've learned, years ago that, hey, you can live 200 miles away and have a totally different perspective. So yeah, I really appreciate you dropping his name in there and check him out. Oh, are you talking about when they left? When they left Seattle? Yeah, and I think they're in Northern Virginia now, so they can be closer to DC. And they don't have to drive as far to collude with the swamp creatures. Oh, I didn't know that they agreed to stay. But there's an interesting documentary on Boeing out there. They're a couple actually, and I tell you, it's a shame that I think what happened to Boeing is they just got comfortable and said, "Hey, look, the United States government is not going to allow the Airbus to be the only game in town." I think that's really what happened. They never saw they never saw Elon Musk coming. Never saw him coming, and with his vertical uh, landing rockets, never saw that coming. They were living off of the 747 hype and the what they did with the Apollo program and all of that, and they just got comfortable. I bet that took a lot of jobs out of the area, which is unfortunate. All right. Oh, I bet they were. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think Boeing needs some serious. The thing is, though, I say they need new management, and I believe that they do. But the problem is, if you're the hot young aerospace engineer, you probably are looking at Tesla or SpaceX or even Amazon. Okay, um, these young these young people, they a lot of them, and this is a good thing. A lot of these skilled young people want to change the world, with their skill for the better. They want to come up with new ideas, these engineers and whatnot. And they see Tesla as much more exciting, much more capable of actually, doing something with SpaceX, as much more likely to make real changes. Like, look at that vertical landing rocket. Okay, that's changed the game. It's made payloads to space much, much cheaper. And I think Boeing could have done something like that. They just didn't have the incentive. The people who wanted to put stuff in space just accepted that, well, this is how much it cost. And then here Elon comes, and you know. All right, so pretty much all of the major markets are in the red, and we have one, as far as what we can see, we have one holdout here this afternoon, Home Depot, who is still in the green. Dow just went to neutral. Dow Chemical just went to neutral. Appreciate you guys hanging here while I multitask. Home Depot standing strong. I think for the reasons that I mentioned before, is that people want to make sure that their homes are in the best condition possible to sell. Otherwise, that market out there, that real estate market is getting more and more competitive because buyers We're seeing fewer and fewer of them. I tried to, or I considered putting up the mortgage-backed security rates, but they move so slowly that I think there wouldn't be much of an interest. If I can do like a split screen, I might do that with them one day. Show you how mortgage-backed securities are moving in relation to the greater equities markets. Might be interesting. Yeah, yeah. '08, we had our real estate. We've been in the real estate business and financial services business for, well, the real estate business for 20 years, financial services for 15. Um, and we survived that whole thing. But I tell you what, it was a heck of a learning experience. And many people exited the business um, from the standpoint of real estate agents, also mortgage brokers. But what happened that was a positive, if you get, I always try to look for the silver lining. Properties became much more affordable, and Baron Rothschild said it. Might be a distasteful colloquialism, but the time to buy is when there's blood in the streets. And you're able to pick up some bargains. So that's why I'm so high on that philosophy, because I've lived it. Yeah, they have cooled down on lending based on those suspicious loans like the no income, no job loans. I mean, come on. Haven't seen many of those, but Bank of America did come out with a product recently that it met with some controversy because when they initially released the news about it, they said that this product was going to be targeted toward minorities. And people were like, no, it's not, because you can't do that in the mortgage market. That's called discrimination. We all know that. So then it came out and said, well, we're targeting it toward minority neighborhoods. And then people were like, okay, well, is everybody going to be able to participate in this? And they said, yeah. So the loan has no down payment requirement. Um, and that is giving people some pause. Yeah, yeah, I did cover that. Yep, yep. So I think also one of the reasons, I don't think I mentioned this in the video, but I think one of the reasons that they're doing that is because they anticipate that it's going to be harder for people to get loans with the interest rates going up. They're not going to have the they're not going to have the money to do it. So yeah, yeah, that's why it's not altruistic at all. It's they want to be able to stay competitive in mortgages, even though interest rates are going up. That's what it's all about. And so they thought they'd release it under the cover of, oh, look what we're doing. Look at how benevolent we are. And they flubbed that in the beginning. And yeah, it's the interest on a full size mortgage. So um, people were able to see right through it immediately. I don't know how it's going. They're testing it in certain cities. Um, we'll see. Some people are looking at it and saying, hey, this is a good way for us to come in. A lot of young folk, okay, think that they're going to, I've seen this. My wife and I have seen this so much in real estate. They're going to come in and they're going to just change the entire city. We've seen it happen so many times. And what happens is you have a couple come into like Baltimore City, okay? And they're so young and idealistic, and they buy a property, and now they start living in Baltimore, and they're going to join in these organizations, and they're going to change things. They might run for office, and then a car gets stolen. Okay, all right. Well, it happens. It's a big city, And then they're accosted by squeegee kids. This is, all right. And then, maybe there's some break-ins on the block. And then they have a kid, and they have to admit to themselves that the public school system is not where they want to put their kid. And then start to wake up, start to look at the counties, and then before you know it, okay, they're 5 years in, and the property goes on sale. They're out, sell it to the next young idealistic person. I have been hearing for literally 50 years that Baltimore's coming back. Oh, we're doing this over here, we're doing this over there, and it never happens. Never happens. Yeah, I read a story in the newspaper last week about a kid who had been just beaten to a pulp in a school. Now, you might say, whoa, that is severe. And it is. But it's nothing compared to what happened the week before when a kid got shot and killed in a Baltimore City school. Now, can you imagine sending your child off to school for roughly 8 hours a day, and you have to hear this news, So the guy, it turns out, actually, the funny thing is, the guy whose son was assaulted, I know him. I've done television and radio with him, and he's very community oriented. He came up in the community, very very community oriented. But he himself said, listen, I don't make a lot of money, but I can assure you, my son will never see the inside of a Baltimore City school again. It's just not safe. And he's right. He's right. And this is a guy that's committed to the community. And, so there's that. So that's why and then you have to also account for this. Now, I've been hearing that for 50 years because I am from Baltimore City, but of late, the crime has just gotten, really out of control in major cities everywhere. Everywhere. It looks like the Dow Chemical peeped its head above water. Home Depot's hanging on. Everybody else is in the red. Okay. We need to put these lives on a schedule of some sort. Yeah, crime is everywhere. They were talking about it's a part of Virginia that's like a Mayberry type of place. I forget the exact place, but they were saying that they're starting to even see it. And if you know it's coming to Mayberry, man, Barney Fife is going to need more than one bullet in that gun. Andy's going to have to come up off of maybe an entire magazine. Who knows? Yeah, yeah. When you can't feed your family, when you're finding it tough to heat your home, people are looking at unemployment. Okay, yes, I've always said you are so right. I've always said that we have a thin veneer of civility in our society, uh, and it is brought to you by our ability to stay pacified from consumerism. Okay, so as long as we're able to go out and purchase stuff from Walmart or get a new car every few years and that sort of thing. We were willing to turn a blind eye to what the government had going on. Um, and here we are. Now we're paying a lot of attention to it, but is it too late? And societies come and go, countries come and go. We saw that with the Soviet Union. We saw that structure end. And it's not like now Russia, of course, had been out there for thousands of years, but the Soviet system, that didn't even make it a century before it fell apart. It lasted a good 70 some odd years. And we also we saw a system in China also kind of adjust and evolve from the Maoist. Even though they're still communist in their government, of course they can't feed 1 billion people under a socialist economy. So they had to inject a lot of elements of capitalism. Although, look at Jack Ma. You say the wrong thing, and that's the end of you. Yeah, that's a good what if. That whole there was this movie about that, about Stalin dying and the back and forth between Beria and um, Khrushchev. After that whole thing, and it was like, wonder what would have happened. I think Beria, man, it would have been a it would have been a continuation of just the hardcore Stalin era. But if Trotsky had taken over, that's interesting. That's something I want to commit some thought to. Okay, so we see Coca-Cola, Dow Chemical, still our Home Depot, and Johnson Johnson, Merck. That's funny. Something must have happened in the pharmaceutical sector because Merck and J&J just turned green there. Something must have occurred. Some news. Let me see if I can find out what it is. And this is one of the reasons you can see these trends. Okay, if we look at what just happened with Merck and J&J. Okay, nothing that I can see here. It might be something about a booster or something like that. It could also be that certain big computer systems they hit a target and some institutional buying started up. Yeah, because other than that, there's really nothing, at least in the news as of yet, about anything dealing with that, dealing with the pharmaceuticals. And yeah, look, Woody Harrelson, whose politics definitely does not align with mine, and that's fine. That's fine. But we are of one mind on the suspicion with regard to the pharmaceutical industry. And I think that that's another institution that the people have just grown weary of and leery of because they, you know, I don't want to get too deep into it simply because I think YouTube and Google still um, are on the hunt for free thinkers in that respect. But I'll just say when you can't be sued, uh, then that takes a lot of the responsibility away from you to produce something that is going to be absolutely forthright. All right, so we're back in the red again with everyone except Dow and Home Depot, and Dow is just hanging on by their fingernails. They're just trying to survive until 4 o'clock. Fridays are usually a light day for me. I'm thinking about when would be the best time to do these streams. And sometimes, like I said earlier, sometimes I just put music over it. This is a good test, though. I'm glad this is working out. This is working out very well. I didn't know if my system was going to allow it to play out like this. Now, Marion, let me ask you something. Can you see the screen clearly? Is it back to being crystal clear? Yeah. Yeah, look, they're back to neutral. Oh man, they're fighting. Fighting. Dow Chemical is fighting for their life today. Still a little blurry. Okay. Okay. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Ziggy Piggy. I appreciate that. Okay. It's a long haul from here to the West Coast, so it might have something to do with it. Welcome, welcome. We are just sitting here, just taking a look at the major companies and how they're doing on this Friday afternoon, the last trading day of the third quarter of 2022. And we got one more quarter left. And unless something absolutely extraordinary occurs, we're going to end the year in negative territory. Yeah, I always tell people, money for me is like oxygen. I need it, okay, but I don't want to be that person that obsesses over it. And you're right. I think that materialism and consumerism has really done a number on the society. Okay, watching people flaunt wealth. And look, I have no problem at all with somebody being wealthy. I think if you're wealthy and you did it, fine, fine. I have no problem with that. But the way it's marketed is like you can change your life if you have the accoutrements of wealth. For example, the Matthew McConaughey commercials where he's driving the Lincoln. You know what? You're not going to live that life. You're going to be stuck in Beltway traffic in your Lincoln. Your Lincoln is going to it's going to be parked in the grocery aisle, grocery parking lot, and a cart's going to hit it, and you're going to get a scratch, and you get a ding, and But marketing, Edward Bernays, look into him if you haven't. Edward Bernays, like, is the father of modern marketing, and he mixed marketing with psychology, and I got to give it to him. Wow, boy, did he know what he was doing, because folk are hypnotized in many instances by marketing. And at one point when I was young, I was too. Okay, it's powerful. But then I started to sit down and I started to say, I want assets. And I quickly got over the car fetish. Um, quickly got over that. Tell you a funny story. When I was a lobbyist, I used to have access to the Verizon skyboxes at several sports venues, and in the arena, in the Bullets, well, they don't call them the Bullets anymore, the Wizards Arena in the Verizon Center down in DC. I had access to park, and one of my cars that I drove every day to DC, it was a 50-mile one-way trip. That car that I took most often was a beat up uh, Acura Integra. I loved that car though. It was a 5 speed. It looked like something Mad Max would drive. Okay. And I would park it next to all of these fancy Ferraris and Bentleys. The players, they had these nice cars. And guess what? My Mad Max Mobile was doing the same thing that theirs was doing, getting me from A to B. And not saying that they were wrong, but I chose to put my money into assets instead. Yeah. Yeah. And I like nice cars. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of nice cars out there. But I don't like car payments. No thanks. We changed our insurance provider here recently, and they said, okay, we need to know how much you owe on the cars. And oh man, what a relief to say zero. Zero. I actually dread having to buy a new car. I've driven new cars like for rentals, and a lot of bells and whistles, a lot of failure points basically that keep you in maintenance. That's right, A to B, yeah, yeah. That's why he was a millionaire. Part of the reason, at least. And people say, "Oh, you can't take it with you." And there are material things I want. Okay, there are material things I want. Like my wife and I want a sailboat, and we get that. Okay, but we don't want a sailboat to. We want it for us. Okay, because we want to experience that. That's one of our retirement goals. All right, so we still got Home Depot hanging in strong. Home Depot is up 0.39%. And again, I believe that is because folk have to get serious about selling their houses. The market has changed. You can't just put anything on the market these days. Uh, Sellers are going to have more and more of a choice. Um, and, in addition to that, we've got home prices that are going to need to moderate because these interest rates are making it more expensive for folk to get into a home. There was a lot of back and forth a year or two ago about, hey, should you buy a home? Yeah, if you can, and if the conditions are right. I mean, if you're someone who moves around a lot with your job, maybe you want to rent. Okay, but we need some place to lay our head at night. We need that cave to go into at the end of the day. And if you look at rent inflation, oh wow, you want to talk about inflation? Rent inflation is up there close to healthcare inflation. Every year you're going to get an increase in rent, and if you're month to month, you know, you might see an increase more frequently than that. So rent inflation is through the roof. Rent, you're not building any equity. Some people say, "Oh, you never own a home because you always got to pay taxes on it." Yeah, well, you never own the apartment either if you continue to just pay rent, and there is no way that you can exercise any equity in that situation. Furthermore, if you fall on hard times, then you got a lot more room to maneuver with a mortgage than you do with um, a rental agreement. Um, they're not going to evict you the next month with a mortgage, after you fall behind, like they would. They're not giving you any breathing room. They're taking you to rent court as soon as you're late, and then once it's done in rent court, if you're not out of there, they're sending an eviction crew. So there's several advantages to buying if you can. I do not subscribe to this thing of, oh, well, buying a house is over. Yeah, right. And then you will put yourself in a situation where uh, houses will continue to increase in value, and it may get away from you. Okay. Yeah, and that's right. Individualism. That is something that's trying to the powers that be are trying to trample on. They want this community, thing. In California, speaking of private property, and Marion, you probably know about this. They're right down the road from you, basically. California, Gavin Newsom is pushing this bill. I don't know if he signed it yet, but if he does, vacancies in hotels will be, I'm trying to say, vacancies in hotels. They'll be able to put homeless people in your hotel if you got a vacancy. No questions asked. Now, I think they're going to compensate them, but they're going to basically seize private property for that purpose in California. The bill has gone through the California House and Senate, is waiting for Gavin Newsom to sign it. And come on, it's Gavin Newsom. I'm sure he will. So that's actually socialism because that's the seizure of the means of production, the seizure of private property to do something that the government wants to do with it. Instead of actually trying to solve the homelessness problem, they are, just, making it harder for businesses to operate in California and making it less attractive to do so as well. The homelessness problem, part of the issue, buddy of mine, it was back in the early 2000s. He's a minister, he's a pastor, and he had a crew that would go out into Baltimore City on Friday nights in the winter. We'd all get together downtown, pass out sandwiches and blankets. And the other thing we do is kind of call and see if there were homeless shelters open and things like that. But a lot of the people we ran into, they had mental issues. Okay, they just a lot of people would like. I remember this guy. He was on a sleeping on a park bench, and we said, "Sir, would you like a sandwich? We got some blankets for you." He said, "Thanks." And tonight was incredibly cold, and so we asked him. We said, "Hey, can we help you get into a shelter? Can we call around, see what's available?" He said, "Oh no, 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 no. I don't want to go into a shelter. I don't want to do that." And he insisted, and he wasn't the only one. There were people that didn't want to go into the shelters. So it's a tough problem. A lot of the people need help beyond just housing. They really do. It's a tough problem. My brother was his business was working at a homeless shelter the other day. He sets up furniture for like government buildings and corporations. Okay, he like sets it up, breaks it down. That's what his business does. So um, he was telling me that they had him over at homeless shelter, and we were just talking about, the circumstances that people find themselves in. Couple of unfortunate occurrences, and people can find themselves in this situation, and that's why I am so one of the reasons I'm so diligent about helping people to understand how money works because I certainly don't want to see anybody in that condition. Man, and to this day, I say a prayer every time that it gets cold outside. Oh man, that's why California has a lot of homeless people because of the weather. The weather is much more conducive to them being able to survive. It's completely understandable. Yeah, yeah, it's a growing issue, and part of it has to do with what we were just talking about with the rents. Uh, with the mortgage, people are not gonna be able to afford it. You know. Yeah, it's funny because in Baltimore City, Ziggy, if you're still on there, you know what I'm talking about. You're familiar with Baltimore City. Um, Baltimore City has a big homeless encampment right across the street, basically from City Hall. And every now and then they go in there and clean it out. And a lot of people say, "Oh, well, why are they clearing it out?" And part of the reason is because it's not safe, it's not sanitary. Yeah, so Ziggy, you know about that. That's big homeless encampment, right? Right there, tent city. It grows to that point sometimes. All right, Marion, no problem. Depot. All right, we're gonna switch views here. Let's take a look at let's take a look at the just we got the indexes. We see that they're all down. Let's just go back, take a look at the commodities, see how they're faring here at the end of the day. Oops. All right, there we go. There we go. The commodities, gold and the dollar up. You don't see that every day. And this is good that we're doing this at this point because you saw how the equities markets were down. Okay, and if you look on the right side of the screen, you see that the indices are all in the red. Okay, but you see that inverse relationship working out today at least with gold and silver. So there's always a way, you know. If you got a diversified portfolio, you are going to be in a position to, weather storms. Make money. Why is the dollar up? Actually, the dollar has been doing well against the other currencies. And here's the thing: um, the dollar is the best looking thing out there in comparison to the other currencies, but the other currencies are, they're dogs right now. So the dollar really isn't, really isn't doing that well. Ziggy, you've met me. I'm not going to be starting center for the Chicago Bulls. But if you get a guy that's 2 inches taller than me, and he's the tallest in the group, hey, so the dollar is the tallest in the group right now, but it's still not strong compared to what it should be, what it has been. And the reason for that is because these interest rates are going up. So it's thought that the inflation is going to calm down. So in a rising interest rate environment, we see the dollar getting stronger. And yeah, we don't go into Baltimore anymore, man. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. I wanted to take my wife down to Tio Pepe's, and I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it because everything's so unpredictable, and you go in there and you have a nice time, and then you come out and you gotta go into this mode, this Mad Max mode. I don't like it. I don't like the feeling, the vibe, the chaos. So hey, so yeah. Let me finish this video up here. We're gonna drop a video at 3:45. It's about a lady who has one hell of a. It's not a side hustle, but it is a small business, and she's doing very well with it. We just want to profile her and drop some other ideas about you know uh, multiple streams of income. Yeah, there are a lot of like. Have you ever been to Mick O'Shea's? Um, they're on Charles Street, and great bar, great place. But nah, I haven't seen them in a while. Yeah, Miko Shades is a great place. It's still it's still down there. Just telling people also that all the speculation about the Orioles moving to Tennessee. A lot of people are pissed off about it. Sure, I get it, but when you have your team that you own, think about it from the owner's perspective. You got a riot on national television, and pay. You got to play 2 games with no spectators. Nah. No, Little Italy is not. Is not. A couple of years ago, we had dinner with some good friends down in Little Italy. Now they're from Northern Virginia, and they parked like I don't know where the hell they parked, but they walked like a mile from where they parked to Little Italy, and they're just footloose, fancy free. And when they told us that, Sarita and I were like, "Hey, come on, you got to be kidding!" So we said, "You're not walking back." And when we finished dinner, we all got in the car. We drove them back to their car. All right, copper is now down. Copper, I believe copper was up a little while ago. It's down now. Let's see. Dow Jones down almost a full percentage point, 280 points down. We're going to keep this stream going until 4 if the technology allows me to. And we'll switch let's switch again at 3:30. Look at the equity, look at the stocks that we were looking at previously, just see how they're going to close out. I just think this is pretty important, being that it's the last day of the third quarter, and it's also the last day of the quarter before we get an election in the next quarter. An election that looks like there's going to be a red wave. You never know. You never can tell. I know when I first started voting, they had little punch cards and levers and whatnot. And somehow we got the results that night. But now, for whatever reason, it's computerized and we got to wait a week. So I think there's some. It doesn't give me a great degree of confidence, but we are having an election, and I think the whole world will be like, "Oh, something's wrong if we didn't see a red wave." There's no satisfaction out there with the Democrats right now. They have mismanaged the economy, um, and plenty of people are facing losing their jobs and you know and getting into financial trouble. What's going on? 401ks have lost a tremendous amount of money. All right, we're going to switch over here and take a look at what's going on with those equities. Um, I'm not certain. Thanks for that, Marion. I'll check it out. We just switch back to the major stocks in America, and Home Depot is it has succumbed. We got a sea of red as we head toward the close. Marion, are you familiar with Patrick Lancaster? He's an independent reporter. He's been doing great objective reports from the front in Ukraine. Yeah, yeah, they did Sanders dirty too. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. We did have hope for Home Depot. Yeah, yeah, they did. They definitely did Sanders dirty. Uh-oh, we pumped a little hope into Home Depot. They popped up. They must have realized we came back. We are single-handedly holding up Home Depot. Yep, yep. Patrick Lancaster. Yeah, Home Depot Bojo. Oh, you know what? I think I know another reason why Home Depot might be up. Um, the hurricane damage. Um, there's going to be a need to rebuild. That's part of the reason Home Depot is up. Yep, there's going to be a lot of need to purchase their products. Yep, hurricane damage exactly. And I think it hit South Carolina too, to a lesser degree, of course, but we could still see some damage. Yep, people have got to rebuild. Yeah, just the plywood alone that people had to use in preparation for the hurricane. You know, that's a Home Depot product. I don't see Lowe's on here. Let me just see how Lowe's is doing. Check it, independent of our stream. Okay, Lowe's is down. Lowe's is down almost a percentage point, so they're not doing as well as Home Depot. But I think there are more Home Depots, and Home Depots are good as far as the management. Their management is better than Lowe's. Customer service piece on both of them is a pretty abysmal. Ace Hardware, they've got great customer service. Yeah, yeah, lumber was not cheap. Yeah, okay, so the Dow is down 354 points now, down 1.2%. So it's falling off a cliff here at the end of the day. Last day of the third quarter. S&P is down almost a percentage point. NASDAQ is down 3/4 of a percentage point. Yeah, that's a great point, Ziggy. Yeah, Lowe's is more geared toward the consumer, where the Home Depot is geared toward those contractors. Yeah, yeah, this thing is incredible. This is, Joe Biden. I met Joe Biden once back when I was a lobbyist. He came to a lunch that we were having, and he made the damn thing last a half hour longer than it should have, because he was glad handing and going around and doing his thing. Back when he was a senator, he was a senator at this point. Um, you know, whatever. But the thing about him is, and this is a lot of politicians suffer from this. Uh, price for lead. Yeah, right, right. Um, a lot of politicians suffer from not having actually done anything in the real world. Okay, not having worked for a private paycheck or had to make a private payroll. So they don't know. There's no way you can tell me you work in the public sector as a politician for 50 years, a senator no less. Okay, that's rarefied air, and you know what's going on in the everyday economy. There's no way. Joe Biden, I would love to see Joe Biden like go to the grocery store and just give him $100 and say, "All right, Joe, buy your dinner," uh, and see what he how he reacts to that. Okay, and he's not the only one. Okay, there's a big time disconnect in terms of what people in the public sector, these politicians, it's a big time disconnect between them and the people who make the world run. Okay, if you take the guys that come and pick up the garbage here at my house every week, okay, they are more, and you take them away, okay, and it'll be a problem. You take the Senate away for a month, hey, Okay, just putting the just putting the yeah, finishing touches on this video for today. It's going to go up about 45 minutes. Yeah, these guys, man, and as a lobbyist, oh man, you would not believe. Okay, well, maybe you would. The pretension, uh, the arrogance of the folk in DC. Okay, something I was never comfortable with, and I loved my job. Don't get me wrong. I'm a guy from West Baltimore, born and raised, and you know the position was the pinnacle of my corporate career, and I had a great time. 14 years in corporate America, but near that last position I had, that lobbyist position. Oh man, these folks, oh, words cannot describe. I'm like, chill out. Tell you another story. So this was when my wife and I had pretty much decided that we were going to do our own thing, and she had already left corporate America, and I was gearing up to do it. We were making the decision, and my boss, who's a vice president, oh man, she was just top of Mount Olympus inside the company. So I'm sitting in a little park right across the street from the office, and I'm eating a sandwich, and I'm reading a book, and I just so happened to notice that my boss came out of the building, and she immediately mixed in with all of the other dozens of people going to lunch, and she just was like a regular person at that point, just another cog in the machine. Okay, and that kind of put things into perspective. I said, I've done well here. I thank God for it. Time to move on. I'm not trying to, sacrifice my entire life, because this woman had no life at all. Her life was the company, and I just didn't want to. Grateful, yes, but I knew I didn't have what it took to move forward in that arena, because I wasn't willing to just, and look, I'm not trying to make myself out to be some saint, but I just didn't have what it took to do another year there. So I did 6 solid years as a lobbyist, and hey, that was it. Learned a lot, a whole lot, especially about the economy. God, learned a lot. Yeah, just oh man, and you're so disillusioned when that happens, right? Because it's like, wow, I got into this for the right reasons, and now I see what it's really all about. I guess you live and you learn. Become less idealistic as time goes on, more realistic, I guess. Yeah, Ziggy, I gotta be honest with you guys. I've even contemplated not voting anymore, especially in the national elections. Local, yeah, I think that there's less malfeasance in that, but I don't know. Well, national elections, I don't know. I've written my own name in several times, um, just as a protest vote. There was nobody on the ballot. Yeah, Home Depot's back. Yeah, they're back. Ziggy, were you here? You probably already knew this, but I was speculating that Home Depot was up because of folk needing to put money into their home to get it to sell. And I think that's true. But also, in this sea of red, I think it's holding its own simply because of, more so rather, because of the hurricane. And, you know, plywood, they had to buy, they got to build, rebuild, you know. Okay, cool, cool. So yeah, we're trying to build a channel, trying to use more of the features that are out there to do that. This is great. Sometimes I'll take a look at the national debt and just watch that go. Okay. But every time I put it in a video, it's like after the fact because it literally, you guys have seen it, it literally goes up uh, second by second. So this kind of stuff is good for that purpose, you know, seeing things in real time. And we've seen, you know, depending on when you join, we've had this thing running for quite some time. Took a little break, but we've seen we've seen this thing flip. In earlier in the day, the Dow was, you know, doing a lot better than it is now. Um, okay, so the hurricane's over South Carolina. Okay, okay, okay. I love it. Yeah, well, all of this thing that this stuff that the Liberal Party has been doing for decades now, and all this free stuff, that's coming to an end. That's coming to an end. A lot of people may think Joe Biden uh, made a mistake when he said COVID was over. No, he means that the largesse coming out of that is over. The free stuff's over. We're broke. We don't have the money. So, and it's going to get. We're going to see more and more of that. I'm on record as saying that the U.S. dollar will lose its reserve currency status by the mid 2030s. And what do I mean by that? I mean that uh, the reserves held in dollars will drop below 50% by mid 2030s. Right now, they're in the 65% range. But thing is, since we weaponized the dollar against Putin, that's got everybody taking a look at the situation and say, hey, I don't want to hold dollars. I want, because, you know, if I make the wrong political decision over here, something that the US doesn't like, then I'm in jeopardy. Okay, so that's one piece. We're going to see those reserves fall below 50%. And the other thing is we're going to see transactions denominated in dollars go from where they are now, which is about 88%, to somewhere in the 70% range by the mid 2030s. And at that point, the dollar will be a, uh, a shadow of itself in terms of its hegemony. And yeah, you know, we're spending, Ziggy, you're right. We're spending all of this money that we're creating out of thin air. Um, because, you know, back in 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard. So that basically gave us a blank check, a credit card that hasn't been called for decades. But I think that time is coming. Um, Look at Social Security. They're already out there saying that by 2034, they'll be paying out 78% of benefits. Yeah, yeah, Marion. What's going on in uh, Europe? We just did a video yesterday. Look at what's going on in Europe is crazy. Okay, it's like they're not even. They know, they see what's going on, but I think we're going to see. You know, when people, like you said, when people can't feed their families, when people are, you know, huddled around firewood that they chop themselves in a country as advanced as Germany, you know, pitchforks ain't, they're not far behind. Every fiat currency has eventually failed. Every um, reserve currency has eventually failed and switched off to something else. Uh, it's just inevitable. Yeah, we may see that a modern day storming of the Bastille. The Western countries don't think that. We think we're beyond that. We think we're above that. What happened in Sri Lanka, but Sri Lanka um, was a test case. There, it showed you that human nature is not going to put up with uh, working, 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 and then not being able to afford food because Greta Thunberg in her, she's probably a multimillionaire at whatever, 17, 16. She is in a different position than most of the people throughout the world. So she gets up there and talks, and amazingly, what this little girl says um, has influenced these world leaders. It's crazy. So Italy is kind of showing the EU that people are getting fed up. You saw the young lady was just elected in Italy from the Conservative Party. Uh, Now, of course, Italy's brand of conservatism is different from America's brand of conservatism, and every country has some nuance on it. But she's conservative enough that the EU actually came out and said that if she won the election, they'd have to correct it. Okay, they backed off of that publicly, but I'm sure they will still try to. I'm sure they'll still try to work to erode her power. It's funny because the name of the party she belongs to is the Brothers of Italy, and their candidate is a lady. Yeah, I read a book. In fact, I think that book is here on my. No, it's not on my shelf anymore. It's somewhere around here, but it's a biography of Bill Clinton, and it talks about how um, he spent a little bit. Bill Clinton went missing for a little portion of time when he was in college uh, in Russia. Okay, and this was back when it was still the Soviet Union. Okay, so I don't know what happened with that, but yeah, Ziggy, Americans are notoriously disconnected from world events. It would take, uh, you know, not being able to again eat, and some Americans are there. We did a report months ago about more Americans skipping meals so that their kids could have something to eat. So, to the extent that something like that happens, and you see people having to deal with no heat in the winter, um, you know, that's life threatening. And then watching their politicians on TV ride around in 30 car motorcades. I think Biden's got probably like 1,000 people that protect him every time he steps outside the White House. That type of thing smacks of Marie Antoinette, type of Louis the 15th. Was it Louis the 15th or Louis the 14th? Louis the 16th. That's who it was. And boy, did that end in grand fashion. Okay, you know what happened to those two? Yeah, that's a good allusion to it too, historical allusion to it too. That the whole rise of communism and the end of the Romanovs, and that was, people were suffering, and the Romanovs were still eh, carrying it like you know what they were, which was royalty. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Ziggy Will. Um, and I don't know if that's too far off. Uh, you're talking about Rasputin. Yeah, he did end up in a pond, but he was a major reason why the Romanovs ended up meeting the fate that they met, because that relationship that they had with Rasputin was so decadent, and people were like, what the hell is going on here? And you know, yeah, yeah, and we see kind of that same decadence in Hollywood. My wife and I, we watch these movies from like years ago. We're not even watching any modern stuff for the most part, because it's all about the message, right? It's not about making a good story. Yeah, they tried to kill that guy multiple times, and he just would not die. And they ended up dumping him in the river. And yeah, he was a tough old bird. He eventually succumbed, but the damage was done. He exited before the Romanovs, but that was part of the reason why people got sick of them. You guys, if you haven't seen it, you might want to check out the video we did on the British royal family. We're related to the Romanovs. All those European monarchs were somehow related. Anyway, we just took a look at their finances and some of the things that we can do to emulate their or what they did to build wealth. So it's an interesting one. It's out there if you want to check it out. All right, sea of red, sea of red in the major stocks. Look over on the right. The major indices are down as well. So on the one hand, it does represent a buying opportunity based on where you are um, in your investing objective. Um, if I really feel for the older people who want that fixed income, and they're subject to not being able to most cases not being able to generate more income in these inflationary times. Marion, I am a big time history buff. Not I don't have a degree in it, but oh man, I love it. I know Ziggy Piggy, he enjoys history as well. I actually remember back way back when the History Channel actually showed history. We haven't had cable in years. Maybe they went back to it. I don't know. I doubt it. The red wave, maybe this is what it'll take to get people out to the polls. I've talked to so many Democrats who are not even trying to defend, what's going on out there. Okay. Spoke to one yesterday who is in the mortgage business, and they've taken it on the chin. And he just was like, I can't defend this stuff. Then I've spoken to a couple that said, "Oh, I didn't vote for Biden." Oh, yeah, sure you didn't. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. But some have argued that the country needed this to be able to connect the economic importance of the political leadership to a vote. Okay. Um, some say the country needed this because uh, your vote translates into money. Okay, if it's a true and honestly counted, it translates into money. And I don't care how many babies they kiss. I don't care. Okay, Hope and change. I don't want to hear about that. Although it was a brilliant strategy because hope and change meant something different to everyone. Okay. Something different to everyone. So you were able to graft onto Obama whatever you wanted him to be, and to an extent Trump as well, with Make America Great Again. That meant 1,000 things to, 1,000 different people. It's awesome. Awesome strategy, right? But James Carville was a strategist for Bill Clinton. He said it best. It's the economy, stupid. Yeah, yeah. The Clinton did do that, Marion. They're not about the working class anymore. They're not. They're about Hollywood elites, Wall Street elites. That's who they are. Corporate elites. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I cannot believe. Did you know that the majority percentage of pharmaceuticals, many of the pharmaceuticals that we use, like penicillin, for example, are produced in China? Okay, so they don't even have to fire a shot. They can just say, you know what? See how long you guys last without this penicillin. Okay, that's another reason they want Taiwan so that they can use that same kind of leverage on us with the chips. You've got too many politicians who care more about their personal ambition and their personal pocketbook than they do about the sovereignty of the country, the economic health of the country, the citizens of this country. Yeah, and I don't think that. See, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, we can beat China." Well, I'm anti-war. War is necessary, but I don't want to at times. Okay, to defend yourself. Okay, that's necessary. But these wars that we're engaging in, who would want a young man or woman from the U.S. military to go and fight the Chinese in the South Pacific over Taiwan? Okay, when we are perfectly capable of building the type of infrastructure here for chip production. I mean, we could even, I mean, if you don't want to bring it home, you want to take it to India. Okay. I mean, I'm just saying, but why an adversary? Why an adversary like China? Right. It does do just that, Marion. And see, the thing is, I think the world got a false impression coming out of World War II because the economy surged after that. But America had proven itself to be an industrial giant. Um, Go take a look at the Liberty ships and how quickly they were constructed. Not only that, before we went into World War II, right before, we were in the Great Depression. So the world came out of that, and we had new technologies, uh, like, for example, the airplane, the ability to ship via air, kind of bolstered the global economy. Um, Traveling. I was watching this program called The Crown on Netflix, and it shows you in the transition from the king to the queen how air travel became. They don't really emphasize it, but it shows you how it became more ubiquitous and helped them to get around the world a lot faster. Oh no, the Liberty ships were actually steel, and they were produced like quickly. I'm talking phenomenally quickly in order to transport goods, to keep the war effort going, keep the supply line going. Yeah, take a look at the Liberty ships on. There's plenty of documentaries out there about them. That just showed the industrial prowess that the United States had. Showed the world. Yeah, war does make money. Look at it does, and that's why I couldn't believe we're spending so much money on Ukraine, Ukraine, and then we talk about the homeless issue that we were speaking about earlier. We're just sending them. Vladimir Zelensky said we send $1.5 billion to him per month. Now, how much do you think of that is going to the war effort? This money's going into this guy's pocket. Yeah, Rosie the Riveter. Yep, yep. Yeah, I think it was it Thomas Jefferson who said that it's a great country if you can keep it, something to that effect. And several of the founding fathers said that, hey, this is an experiment. This whole thing's an experiment. And I think that human nature, Ziggy, you mentioned it earlier, is human nature, avarice, hubris, ambition, unbridled ambition, has come into play and poisoned the well. It's just like, you know, to those guys like Lenin, communism looked good on paper. But then, you put it in the hands of humans and all of the human nature came into play. And, it just wasn't going to work. Capitalism, to me, is more reflective of real life. Excuse me. Was it James Madison? I don't remember exactly who it was, but yeah, yeah. If I had my way, none of these politicians would be in office unless they had done some sort of service outside of politics. Okay. So I'm not talking about military service per se, although that would be acceptable. I would love to see more of the kids of the elite uh, have to join the military because then we'd be far less likely to go to war. Um, but I think that if you really want to represent your country, you should have some service background. And hey, Peace Corps was out there, America was out there, volunteer firefighter, police explorers. There are a whole lot of ways to serve your country. And instead of just winning a popularity contest and saying that you smoked weed while listening to Tupac 3 years before Tupac released his first record, as our illustrious vice president is on record as saying. Ben Franklin. Okay, got you. Got you. Thank you for that, Marion. Hey, I have faith in you and Ziggy. Absolutely. Donuts, okay. Well, you don't want the donuts now. The Dunkin' Donuts, we're at the point, what, 3:30, where when you're ordering two, they're giving you five because they're going stale. Yeah, that's unfortunate, Marion. They late day they give you they're trying to get rid of the donuts. Krispy Kremes are good, and Krispy Kremes are dangerous. Okay, they're dangerous. I have I'm ashamed to admit it, but I've sat there and ate a half a dozen of them. Okay, and I'm like, man, I gotta stay away from this place because I just see a diabetic incident in my future if I don't. The other thing, Marion, I don't know if you all may not be familiar with this, but this happens less and less these days. But back in the old days, Ziggy, you remember steamed crabs in Baltimore? You order a dozen, they're sure to throw three or four more in there, gratis. Everybody did that, but not so much anymore. They're too expensive, I guess. Okay. Hey, I wasn't saying all that. Another funny story. Hold on one sec. Speaking of knees, so when I was a firefighter, I was a volunteer firefighter for about 8 years, and yes, we would summertime we show up on scene looking cool with our sunglasses on, and I jump out of the back of the engine like dun dun dun, dun, here I am to save the day. and and I don't have a big problem, but I feel a little tinge every now and then, and I attribute it to my need to look cool jumping out of a fire engine. Yeah, that J&J that had popped up earlier, and we were trying to figure out why. Yeah, I can always look back at looking cool. Okay, this is why we might be seeing a bump in that occasional, you know, bump in the pharmaceuticals. European pharma companies may stop producing some generic drugs amid energy crisis. Okay, so of course that would be good news for those producers outside of Europe. Uh, Unfortunately, the prices would go up because there'd be demand, but there'd be less supply. So that's what I think is going on there. That might be it. There's these energy issues that they're having in Europe, which are all self-imposed. Which are all self-imposed. They, I never get tired of saying, they laughed in Trump's face. the German delegation to the UN, they laughed in his face when he said to them, "You guys need to be less dependent on Russian energy sources." And you would think that they would just say, you know what, diversification in something as important as energy is probably not a bad idea. But no, no. They thought it was funny then. And here we are going into October in the Northern Hemisphere. Well, all over the world, but October in the Northern Hemisphere, we're taking it into winter soon. And I don't know about in Seattle, but I think, Ziggy, you can probably agree with me that in this area, that, hey, man, those nights have been getting pretty, getting a little crisp there. Yep, NATO is. Yeah. Yeah, those nights are getting a little crisp. Um, I think I'm going to start the blanket index. How many blankets are on your bed? That'll tell us. That'll give us some indication of what people are dealing with energy prices. I've heard of that, Ziggy. Um, okay, yeah, I do have a Discord server, but I gotta look more into it because I'm not quite sure how to operate it. But from what I understand, all of this technology is so great because I'm not even the most computer literate person, but these apps and whatnot are pretty intuitive. Um, so I'll look into that absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So it's getting cool, and look, we all this talk about global warming, right? Um, but the reality is, more people, more humans live in close proximity to the equator than the poles for a good reason, because it might get uncomfortable when it's hot, but most people are able to control that through a combination of clothing, finding some cover, some shade cover, uh, keeping themselves hydrated. But cold is a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. So uh, we're about to see what happened. That pipeline issue, we did the video on that. The pipeline. Some people were telling me, yeah, sweating. That's a automatic biological process used to cool us down. Yep. Gentleman was making the case that, well, Vladimir Putin did it. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, right. Vladimir Putin, he blew up his own only source of leverage. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, and then we have Joe Biden and Victoria Nuland, the one of the undersecretaries of state, both on record earlier in the year saying that if Russia invaded, they would end the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. And they didn't elaborate. They just said, we will end it. And now it's ended. So take from that what you will. Coming down the home stretch here, we got about 20 more minutes until the markets close for the day. Unless, I don't know, something. Joe Biden may be announcing he's resigning. I think we see these numbers go the other way. But I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he's going to do that. Joe Biden, this Friday, he's probably home in bed by now. J&J popping again on that news about the European pharmaceuticals having production troubles, thanks to energy or lack of energy. Appreciate you guys supporting the channel and the conversation. Really appreciate this. I think this is going to be a great thing that we go to here regularly. Ziggy, I was talking to a certain radio host that we both know and love, and I was encouraging him to start a YouTube channel. I told him, your audience is going to go from the Baltimore metropolitan area to the planet Earth. So I believe he's considering it. BAL, I can't even listen anymore. I can't even listen anymore. Uh, they got a liberal on there now. I hear. I don't know what they're doing. Liberal radio doesn't work if you're in the business to make money. Come on, man. Maybe a liberal late night talk. Yeah, that they got that covered. But and then maybe even not. Is it Jimmy Kimmel? He's under fire. Trevor Noah, who I've never seen him be funny a day in his life. This is the beauty of America. America is a country where you can be an unfunny comedian and still make it big. That only happens in America. If you were unfunny, think about if they invited a comedian up to do a set for the Crown Prince of uh, Saudi Arabia. Okay, so here comes a comedian, and he's in front of Mohammed bin Salam, and he starts out with some henny young men. Take my wife, please. And can you imagine the stress as Mohammed bin Salam just sits there and is looking like, I don't find this funny. You might never see that guy again. Or if you take a comedian in front of Chairman Xi over in China, who I've never seen smile, uh, and he doesn't find your routine funny, you're out of here. You know, he disappear you. But in America, this country's so great that you can be an unfunny comedian and still make it big. That was Trevor Noah. So he's out of there, gone on to do God knows what. But the larger point I'm making is that you know the country is at a point where things are changing. Yeah, can you see that? I wouldn't even want to be. Yeah, it's CBM for me too. When I'm in the car, it's CBM all the way. Um, I wouldn't even want to. If I was a comedian in China and they say, "Hey, Chairman Xi's got having a party tonight, and he's looking for his little entertainment, wants some levity," and I gave him your name. I said, oh my god, this is it. This is it. Can you imagine opening for the headliner? Can you imagine the headliner if the opening act is like dragged out screaming, uh, and you're the headliner, and you're like, oh snap. Yeah. I think Poland was definitely in on it. Poland was definitely in on it. The former Polish defense minister came out and thanked the United States, and then Poland came out and vigorously denied it. And the first thought that went through my mind was, "Thou doth protest too much." Yeah. That's one thing that people seem to forget about China is the thousands of years of culture. Yeah, India, Russia, right up there, in Europe too. But Europe, uh, Western Europe at least, they had a different thing going on with tribes and you know. Yeah, and then John Brennan came out and he said, no, United States. This was all Russia. And so, as we covered earlier, if John Brennan said it, then you can best believe that whatever he said, it's the opposite of that. We are supposed to believe, again, that Vladimir Putin just said, to hell with it. I'll just go ahead and destroy my only leverage point. The same pipeline, by the way, that he campaigned very hard to put into operation for years. And now he's just, let me just blow it up. And how does that benefit him? How in the world does that benefit him? Someone was saying to me, well, now he doesn't have to provide the gas to Europe. Well, he wasn't doing that anyway, and he was using the excuse of a lack of parts. So why wouldn't he just continue to do that? Oh well, he got the part. Oh well, yeah, the technician, he's on vacation. He'll be back in 6 months. He could have drugged that out, but to resort to actually destroying it, come on. There is some speculation. A supposed Rand report came out. Um, a little while back by a guy named John Mark Dougan supposedly found this leaked RAND report. And the report said, this alleged report said that this whole thing with Ukraine and Russia was engineered by the West, well, engineered by the United States and the UK to kind of weaken Europe, the continental Europe, and delay the demise of the dollar. And I dismissed that earlier because John Mark Dougan, I don't know a lot about him. And I do know that he was a police officer here in America. He left that job under circumstances that I don't completely understand. And he lives in Russia now. So when he leaked that report, I'm like, is this legit? Now, to his credit, I have not seen the Rand Corporation deny that that was their report, and which is easy enough to do, but I haven't seen them do that. But that report was saying how it was in the interest of America to engineer this situation where Putin would move on Ukraine, and this would give the United States an opportunity to weaken Europe via energy. And that's exactly what has happened. So I don't know if it's accurate or not, but that's what Dougan's report said, what Dougan's leaked report said. So you're familiar with that report, Marion? The okay, okay, okay. That's good to know. Because I had never heard of him before that. Um, so okay, so this lines up with some other information. It seems like. And again, if China came over and said, "Hey, we're going to make a deal with Mexico, and Mexico is going to become a territory of China," I think we all know what the reaction of the United States would be, and appropriately so, I might add. So, see, I'm not willing to be hypocritical in these types of geopolitical discussions. If I think that it's in the interest, the territorial interest of the United States of America, the economic interest of the United States of America, then when another country turns around and does the same thing for what they state is the same reason, then how can I say no? Well, it doesn't count for you because you're not us. I'm not willing to do that, even if it makes me unpopular. And Putin has come out here and said that 4 annexed regions are, quote, ours forever. And he does blame the U.S. for the Nord Stream strike. Okay. So let's finish the day off with a couple of items here that just broke. So that's one of them. With the ink drying on the official annexation declarations newly signed by the heads of Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, Zaporizhia. I hope I'm pronouncing those right. Those regions in Friday's historic ceremony, the key takeaway from President Putin's lengthy speech is that he declared mission accomplished. So again, I think he should have resorted to that first, because then he could have said, well, United States, you guys are always talking about free and fair elections. We just had one. And this is the result. He even touted that the referendums were accomplished in line with the UN Charter on Self-Determination for All Peoples and vowed, quote, they have made their choice. This is the only path to peace. We will protect our land using all our forces, and we will protect their security. We will, of course, rebuild all destroyed towns and continue building hospitals, theaters, and schools, unquote. Okay, so that's the result. Right, we did promise that, and that has been a total and complete lie. Absolutely, it has. Yeah. So, 1 second here. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, Putin goes on. Putin bluntly Putin bluntly informed the large audience of top officials at St. George's Hall at the Grand Kremlin Palace of Moscow that there are now, quote, 4 new regions of Russia, unquote. A fait accompli that the Ukrainian government and its Western backers are rejecting. Also, on fresh reports that pro Kremlin forces have suffered more setbacks in Donetsk in particular. Yeah, I thank you for pointing that out about RT and where I can access it, because I do want to. I have a friend who she was actually born in Siberia and raised in Belarus. She just came back from Belarus, as a matter of fact. I'm going to talk to her later on, and she's been on the channel, by the way, guys. When she came back from Belarus, we did a little interview with her, Yana Pomerantz. All right, so let's switch gears here. So that's what's going on there. Now get this, we from the start. Yes, it's 4 to be exact, Ziggy. He's saying his claim is that the referendums of those areas were to split off and come into the Russian fold. Now get this, we talked about this on the channel extensively. The whole the whole student loan thing with the forgiveness. Just kidding. Biden yanks student loan forgiveness from 770,000 borrowers in a jarring reversal. The U.S. Department of Education on Thursday quietly revised its online guidance on who qualifies for the $10,000 of student loan forgiveness that President Biden announced in August. In doing so, it pulled the rug out from under at least several 100,000 people. At issue, borrowers who have Perkins loans and a federal family education loan. Those earlier generation loans were guaranteed by the federal government, but were issued and are managed by private lenders. The federal family education loan program ran from 1965 to 2010. Perkins loans ended in 2017. So we have told people on the channel again and again, do not get happy about the student loan forgiveness, because it's going to court and somebody has already filed suit. And I have advised people to look, just whatever you were paying, just put it in something relatively safe. Keep doing that as if you were making the payment, because you're going to have to make the payment at some point. The President of the United States does not have unilateral authority to do this, to forgive this obligation. And so this is even different from that statement. Okay, now they're finding out that the nuances of this are rather much more complex than they thought. Okay, so these people with the Perkins loans and the federal family education loans will not be included because they owe the money to private institutions, and Joe Biden cannot get in the middle of a private contract like that. Okay, so we got almost 1 million people that are going to be automatically disqualified under that rubric, and we've got folk that are still going to be out there waiting for this, but it's not going to happen. Well, it's going to be reversed. It might work its way all the way up to the Supreme Court, at which case it ain't. It's just not happening. I think the Supreme Court will eventually take it. You probably got about 2 years before that happens, so you can make a little money off of the spread between what you're putting away and any return you're able to get on that. But again, I would advise you to do, I've advised people to do it in something that's relatively safe, because when they come out and say, actually, you do owe the money, you want to be able to pay it and get rid of the debt at some point. Yeah, Joe Biden just thought he'd throw something out. Ziggy, Joe Biden just thought he was going to throw something out to get people to head to the polls and vote Democrat in November. But that's not going to happen, okay? The red wave is here. And part of the red wave is what we are seeing right now, a true red wave on Wall Street. And we talked about this the other day. Yeah, he's in bad shape. Did you guys see him calling for the congresswoman who's actually deceased. It's like, wow, man. Okay. This is heavy stuff. This is a shame that they're letting this man go out here on the world stage and wrap up his legacy. This is all that people are going to talk about him in history. Okay. I am very reluctant to say things like, "Oh, the worst president ever." I actually still think that Woodrow Wilson is the worst president. But I'm not going to lie. I'm being totally objective with this economy being the way it is, with us doing what we're doing around the world to weaponize the dollar. Joe Biden is very competitive for my money in that race to be the worst president. Okay, so we got the sea of red that will contribute to the red wave. What I was going to say before I went into that screed was so people talk about Wall Street, but let's remember who Wall Street is. Wall Street is every person that has worked their ass off for 30 years and has got a pension. Every person has contributed to a 401k, traditional IRA, Roth IRA, most insurance policies, many insurance policies. That's Wall Street. That's Wall Street. Wall Street is Main Street. Okay. Because as I mentioned earlier, Social Security is not going to cut it. Social Security is insolvent. They're going to pay out 78% of benefits starting in 2034 if recipients are lucky. So Wall Street is a place where a lot of people turn, try to get their money growing for them. So that's who Wall Street is. And the closer you are to retirement, or if you're in retirement, you gotta be pretty nervous because for the most part, everything's down for the year. Everything's down for the year. Okay, gold's down, real estate is dropping, and remember, real estate is a hyper-local market, so it might be doing gangbusters in Martha's Vineyard, where they are very focused on keeping, brown people out, pretty much. We saw how swiftly they moved on that the other day. I mean, that was whoa. So we saw that. Okay, so real estate might be doing great there, but on Main Street, where folks work for a living and are starting to receive pink slips and watching their portfolios go down, maybe it's a different story. So we're seeing folk not able to. And look, I talk about this stuff all the time, but don't forget, I'm sensitive to it because I don't sell assets. That's my personal philosophy. But I know a lot of people have to do that in order to, buy food, to live. I get it. Okay. The sad thing is, most of our politicians, I don't believe they do. Yeah, I don't believe they do. And it is a buyer's market. And you know what? I love the fact that DeSantis and Abbott down in Texas. I love the fact that they're doing that. Put your money where your mouth is, DC, New York, California. Okay, put your money where your mouth is, Martha's Vineyard, because you all know that they have the sign out front saying that we believe in diversity, and they got the bumper sticker on the back of the car, coexist. Okay, coexist. These people, and look, as far as the immigrants are concerned, I feel for them. Because there are many now, there are a lot of criminals in that lot, and we got to really vet these people. There is a process. You have to go through the process. I cannot just walk up into Mexico and say, "Hey, I'm here." I can't do that. Mexico's not having it. They're not having it. There needs to be a process. And if you want a better life, then there is a process. Okay, you got to go through it like plenty of immigrants have. And if I work with a lot of immigrants, okay, in my financial services company, and they tell you, look, you got to do it like we did it. You got to do it the right way. You got to stand in line. You got to go through the process. And yes, over time, you'll work it out. You'll play by the rules and you'll make it happen. Okay. Any other country in this world, not any other. I guess I could just prance into. I don't know. I don't know if I could just prance into the UK. I don't know. If I maybe acted like I was immigrating from somewhere, maybe I could. But if I just flew over and say, "Hey, here I am. I've got some financial services knowledge. I could contribute to society." I don't know if they take me. They probably said, "Well, we got a process, buddy. You got to go through it. So head your little self back, on over to America, and we'll see you in 10 years." So yeah, Monroe Doctrine at its finest. Yeah, 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 yeah. The U.S. We've conducted a brain drain on many other countries, guys. We have. And so here we are. Here we are. The markets just closed. Sea of red. Not even our stalwart Home Depot could hold out. I want to point out one thing before we get out of here, guys. Is look at the VIX, S&P 500 VIX. Understand what the VIX is. It's up, but the VIX is a volatility indicator. It's like a sentiment indicator. So it being up, this is saying that sentiment is actually down. Okay. Guys, I really enjoyed this. We're going to do more of these. We're going to look at other aspects of the economy. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. We're going to end it here. But thanks for being a part of the Soldiers of Finance community. And check out today's video. It dropped about 15 minutes ago. I'll talk to you soon, guys.